Hello, this is Dan with the Center for Political Innovation and Inspirational Message. And yes, it was September the 15th, I believe, 2011, in Zuccotti Park, where Occupy Wall Street started. And here in Los Angeles, it was Pershing Square, and then they moved to City Hall in downtown LA on October 1st. And I didn't discover it until around the beginning of October, and I went down to City Hall, and well, the rest for me is history. And I had already been a peace activist as a media ambassador for a UN program called Adopt a Minefield for a few years. So this opened my mind, though, to multiple issues, maybe as many as 100 or more. And so I was part of the media team, and then also Occupy the Rose Parade. I was one of the primary organizers of that, which continued after the encampment was disassembled, which was something that happened across the country, as many of us know who were part of that process. But the whole thing was very inspirational for me, just like a CPI is now. It was an opportunity to really be like a sponge and learn all this information that I had never been exposed to before. And it was all kind of centered in one place. And people would have their signs focusing on certain issues that were important to them or that they were knowledgeable about. And I just gathered a lot of information at that time, leading me to where I am now. I want to share, really not read anything to you, at least not yet, but share some visuals for you to kind of feel the excitement of what that was like. First of all, being part of the media team, one of the things that we did was make newspapers. So, like, for instance, this is Occupied Los Angeles Times, yeah, and then in Zuccotti Park, of course, there was this. I was able to get this. I'm sure Caleb has one of these. The Occupied Wall Street Journal, and then even after Occupy encampment phase ended, many of us continued it on as long as we could. You know, it was mostly education based, like what CPI is doing, and being part of the one of the primary organizers of Occupy the Rose Parade. Word was getting around. Even the actual Tournament of Roses organization in their game day guide. Look at this. Inspired by the Shepard Fairey art that was used, and wow, I mean, it made an impact. I mean, I can tell you some more stories later, but there's not enough time. And then this is the newspaper we made. This is, again, 2012 for to hand out to thousands of people at on the Rose Parade route, Colorado Boulevard here in Pasadena, when we joined the People's Parade at the end of the parade, and you know, thousands of people got copies of this newspaper, saw our various floats and images that we were creating. We definitely got Wells Fargo's attention. That's a whole nother story. And fun little things like this, you know, came from Orange County, you know, Occupy First, and Bank of Occupy, and say no to big oil. And this fun little thing here with an image from Monopoly, the banker behind bars, you know, bankers behind bars. And we call them banksters because that's what they are, you know, bankers behind bars. Somebody made that. That's pretty cool. And but, you know, also people would say, Occupy didn't do anything, and it's like it was a failure and blah, 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 blah. But actually, there was all kinds of stuff going on. This is a work in progress. You know, we had our original statement and the current language, and then people were discussing, you know, how we would revise, you know, the mission statement and what Occupy LA stands for and what the goals would be. And again, I'm not going to read this, but is the proof that there were working committees on demands and on mission statements on the purpose of why this is an important movement. And there was even this, our own version, instead of the Declaration of Independence, it is the Declaration of Freedom and Peace. And there's a lot of good stuff here. So as time goes on, maybe I can review some of this and share more in detail with you. And it continued on, like I said, into 2012, as long as we possibly could. I mean, even in June, there was this, the Occupy LA Freedom School continued. We would have gatherings to, again, for educational purposes, much like what CPI is doing now. But I think CPI is definitely taking the Occupy Wall Street, Occupy LA, the whole Occupy idea, where it left off. I mean, people can talk about the failures and all of this kind of stuff ad infinitum. I'm not even interested in that. I'm interested in what can we learn from mistakes, the great content that is in this just this little bit of information that I shared with you, and where we are here and now as innovationists going forward and reaching out to the masses of people saying, you know, we're all in this together. Do you understand why we are anti-imperialist? Why we stand for growth in the economy? Why we are going beyond left and right? And what this really means, it may not be what you think it is, but we're here to explain it as succinctly and in the best ways that we possibly can. And for those who are open, we should engage in conversations. And for those who maybe aren't ready, you know, give them some space. And for those who aren't interested at all, obviously we know we can't work with them, we can't talk to them. But then always be aware that there's going to be people who are willing to listen, because I'm seeing a growing awareness. And you know, look what happened even just with the Uhuru 3 in the trial. Yeah, it's still not completely resolved, but it's clear that more and more people are realizing that truth and justice is the solution. And we do need to support one another, and the truth and the justice will win. This is Dan. Have a great day. Peace now. And well, boy, do we need peace now more than ever, too.